welcome back to my channel. In today's video I would like to share some tips for people who would like to start running, simply because spring is on its way, and even if you never ran before, running is actually a great sport or a great hobby. It's fun and it's great for your cardio if you're into cardio. I'm actually more into strength training right now, but I still like to go running just because it's a great way to get outside. So these tips include things to do before, during and after a run. And on a side note, I'm definitely not a running expert or a pro. I have been running for quite a few years with a few breaks in between. And last year I took part in my first running event, which was just a 5K run. And all of these tips are just my tips and things I've experienced that work best for me. Without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing when you are about to go running is to ask yourself, am I hungry? Because you definitely do not want to be running on an empty stomach, but you also don't want to be running on a full stomach. If you just ate something, you definitely have to wait at least half an hour to an hour, I would say, because if your body is still digesting food, it's a lot of stress for it to be digesting and running. So definitely don't eat a big meal before you run. If you are about to head out the door and you feel like you are a bit hungry, just grab a banana or an energy bar or anything that's like light but still high in carbohydrates, because those will give your body energy for the run. When it comes to the running outfit, of course you could be spending tons and tons of money on really cool fitness clothes. But if your budget is restricted, you definitely don't have to buy everything at first. That's the cool thing about running. It's actually not an expensive hobby or sport. All you will need at first is definitely a good pair of running shoes. But when I say good, I definitely don't mean expensive, because good shoes don't have to be expensive. These are my running shoes. I bought these several years ago. I bought them at a local discount supermarket for 20 euros. So that is really cheap. And of course you can't have the same pair for years and years, and I'm probably gonna have to replace those pretty soon. I haven't experienced any problems with these shoes. They've been great so far. And that just proves to me that you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can also just go online and search for discounts and sales for good running shoes, so you don't have to go and buy an expensive pair of Nike or Pumas if your budget doesn't allow it. The next thing I would definitely invest in is a fitness shirt, because the thing is, if you're wearing just a regular cotton shirt, and especially if you're running in spring or during fall and you're sweating, it's not gonna dry, so you're gonna have wet clothes on your body, which is not just really uncomfortable, but you could of course also catch a cold if your clothes are wet. And the great thing about those fitness shorts is that they are made of materials that dry really fast. So even if you're sweating a lot, you're not gonna have wet clothes on your body. This is the shirt I bought a few years ago. This brand is called Irima. I found it on Amazon. They are pretty cheap compared to other companies. It has really good quality. I like the color, I like the design. It's very simple and basic, but that's really what I like. And yes, it might not be as fancy and cool as some of the other clothes you see other people wearing, but if your budget is restricted, that's definitely like the second thing I would buy. That being said, if you are a woman, obviously you will need a sports bra, and that's probably like the very first thing you will need, because running without a sports bra is pretty much a nightmare, and it's not fun, and it's definitely not good for your body. Then again, even sports bras don't have to be expensive. You can get great discounts and sales if you do a little bit of research online. I always go on Amazon, because no one's gonna see my sports bra. I don't care if it looks ugly or like a granny bra, so I will just go and search for a cheap one with great reviews. No need to spend a lot of money. So now we're ready to start running, and the first thing you will probably do is warm up. But warm up does not mean stretching or static stretches, because if you stretch your cold muscle, you can actually injure it. Stretching is reserved for after running, then you definitely need to stretch, because that's great to prevent sore muscles. But before a run, you need to do dynamic stretching, so you should stretch while you're doing some sort of exercises. So you can either do jumping jacks or high knees, or just start by running really slowly and then gradually move up the pace. Especially when you're a beginner to running, definitely start with a low pace and start with a pace that's comfortable for you. Ideally, you should be running so slow that you could still have a conversation with someone, and that is actually pretty slow. And this leads me to my next point. Obviously when you're running and you're out in a park, there are other runners, and some of them are even training for marathons and they're super fast. It can be somewhat discouraging if people are just like keep shooting past you and you're like, man, I'm giving my best and those people are like so fast. But my tip is really just ignore those, put on your blinders and run in a pace that's really comfortable to you. And if you just stick with it, eventually you're going to be as fast as them. But in the beginning, never try to compete with them. Something that's really important when you're running is your posture. And there are several things you need to keep in mind, because if your posture is good, then breathing is a lot easier. So the first thing you will need to focus on is having your chin parallel to the ground. So have your chin up and don't look on your feet, but look at a point in the distance. Your body should be straight, but your shoulders should be relaxed. And your arms should have about a 90-degree angle on the side of your body, and they should go like this and not cross your body, because once you start crossing your body, it's gonna be hard to breathe and it's gonna make you slower. And your hands shouldn't be curled up in fists, just have them like kind of like this. That's a really comfortable position to have them in. I've seen a lot of people do that when they're jogging or running. They run on their toes. Don't do that. So instead of running on your toes, try to kind of have your foot like a wheel and roll it from the heel to the toes. This is the best way to run, and it's also great because you're working out your butt muscles. Something you should also pay attention to during your run is your breathing. The most important thing you can do is to breathe regularly. What I like to do is I start off by breathing in through my nose and out through my mouth. But after a while you will notice that that's not going to be enough and that you need more air. So during your run you can breathe in and out through your mouth and nose at the same time. But definitely try to breathe in a regular pace. What I find really motivating is to track my achievements during a run. So I actually run with the Runtastic app, which uses GPS, and you can actually turn on a voice feedback that tells you how fast you're running. And it's really great to just compare the statistics after each run and see if you've gotten any better. This is what the Runtastic app looks like. You can get a regular free version that doesn't cost anything. Then you only get the voice feedback for the first kilometer. And if you get the pro version, I think I paid around €5, I'm not 100% sure, then you can get voice feedback for the entire run. And I think that's just a really motivating thing. Of course, some people feel more comfortable without having any equipment on them. But I bring my phone anyway since I have my music on there. And speaking of music, I definitely recommend bringing music to a run and maybe even making special playlists for your runs. I think that's just a really motivating thing. And I think running without music is really boring. Usually at around kilometer 2 or 3, I get really tired and I feel like I'm running out of breath, and I just feel like sitting down and walking home sometimes, and like I just don't want to finish my run. My recommendation is to, whenever you do feel like this, definitely try to push through it. Of course, if you're feeling super dizzy or you feel like you have to throw up, then definitely stop your running. But just push through it, and then eventually you will, like, even if you're going slower, eventually you will reach a point where you're like, okay, I can do this, like I could run forever now. Sometimes I feel like that. Like if you push through that really hard part, it does get easy afterwards. Really try to push yourself a little. If you still feel like it's the end of the world and you're gonna die right now, of course stop. But I recommend to always challenge yourself and to always push through. So once you get home, there are 2 things you have to focus on, and that's of course drinking and eating. The Runtastic app actually tells me how much water I need to drink after my run. I have no idea how they do the math for that. But usually you will end up drinking around like half a liter or like 16 ounces at least. Then you will need to make sure you're getting the right nutrients. If you want to learn more about post-workout nutrition, definitely check out the video I did on it. YouTube has this new feature, so there is this info card right here on the top. There's this eye in the circle, and if you click on the eye, you can see all of the videos or blog posts I put in there. And there is the link to the post-workout nutrition video if you want to watch that. Of course, what's most important is to have a protein-rich meal. I usually come home and have a protein shake first, then I will take a shower, and then I will prepare a meal. I think it's just better to have something right away instead of like taking a shower and then getting really hungry and not giving the body the nutrients it needs. So if you're just starting to run and you're really enjoying it, but you don't know how to stay on track with it, I think a great motivation is to actually sign up for a running event. It doesn't have to be a marathon or half marathon. That's like too hard for a beginner, I would say. But there are running events like a 5K, 8K or 10K run, and these are something a beginner can definitely do if you have a little bit of practice. I think that's a great motivation to have a goal you're working towards too. Once I signed up for a 5K run last year, I was running at least 1 day a week. I'm pretty sure if I wouldn't have signed up for this event, I wouldn't have been running every single week. So that's definitely a great motivation booster. Just do an online search for your city, and there's most likely going to be a running event during the summer or fall. So if you sign up for it now, you have enough time to practice and to get a better time. And just on a side note, you can run a lot of these running events, especially the smaller ones, without tracking your time. You can just go there for the fun of it. So these were my running tips for beginners. Of course, you can head over to my blog. The link to that is in the description box or in the info cards up there. And you can read all about what I just said. Yeah, I wish you lots of fun running, and I really hope these tips were helpful. Feel free to leave me your feedback in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!